A very good morning to each and every one of you. Good morning. Thank you. All of you know why we have gathered here. We have with us Father John Dardis SJ, who serves the Society of Jesus as the General Counselor for Discernment and Apostolic Planning. It is a privilege indeed to be in his presence. In fact, we are fortunate because it is very rare that we get to interact with a person who is at the helm, somewhere at the top in the think tank of the Jesuits. And Father John Dardis has been that. And when he interacts with you, you will come to know. They are known for reading the signs of time and changing, modifying their paradigms from time to time. And he is one of them who actually suggests and proposes as a part of a team to the general regarding all these kind of, changes by looking into the signs of time. As I accord a warm welcome to him, let's begin this session with a short prayer. I request Dr. Charles Furtado, the Director of Admin Block, to lead us into prayer.
Let us remain seated, assume a comfortable position, and prepare ourselves to thank the Almighty for His munificence, for His involvement in our lives, for awakening us this morning to see a new day, for bringing us here according to His call, according to His mission. Let us thank Him for everything that He has wrought in our lives. Let us now watch a short video. Pause for a moment, look into ourselves, and learn from this video.
Come in. Here. You are late. Why are you late? Show me your hand. There. Sit down now. And don't do it again. Silence. You're late again. And go, sit down. Come in.
As we are seated, let us close our eyes and thank God for this morning, for this session. Let us pray that God continues to enlighten us, help us to introspect, look into ourselves, and continue to improve ourselves in the service of the other. Let us place all of us and Reverend Father John Dardis in thy hands. Let us place all the Jesuits worldwide into thy hands and pray that God continues to use each one of us as his precious instruments for his glory. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Charles, for that awakening prayer. I request Reverend Father John Dardis to come over to the dais and occupy the seat on the dais. Shall we have a big round of applause to him? Thank you, Father. I have been fortunate enough to be one part of a committee which went into reimagination and restructuring of Jesuits in South Asia. As a mentor, Father Dardis also was there, but he was meeting us online. And we have had around 3 meetings online, and we from India and Asia were sitting in Bangalore in the provincial's office, and Father Dardis was joining, but for 3 meetings he was in 3 different countries. This is the work that has been doing, always on the move, and assisting the general in all the matters. I would like to give a brief profile of Father Dardis. Can you see the smile on the face of Father Dardis on this photograph? Yeah, I think I leave it to you, interpretations. After his presentation, you will come to know. You can think of his personality. Father John Dardis, S.J., serves the Society of Jesus as the General Counselor for Discernment and Apostolic Planning, offering essential guidance and strategic planning to Jesuits globally. His expertise is rooted in a unique combination of communication and theological studies. Holding a master's degree in television, radio, and film from Syracuse University, and a licentiate in sacred theology in moral theology from the University of Toronto. This blend allows him to communicate complex concepts and provide insightful spiritual direction effectively. His extensive leadership experience includes serving as president of the Conference of Jesuit Provincials Europe, Irish Jesuit Provincial, JRS Europe Regional Director, and holding communications roles within the Archdiocese of Dublin and the Jesuit Communication Center. Widely recognized for his expertise in discernment and leadership, Father Dardis has conducted numerous workshops and retreats. He offers spiritual direction, drawing from Ignatian spirituality, to guide individuals in making values-driven decisions. He is a deeply faithful and highly skilled Jesuit whose dedication to discernment, leadership, and service makes him a valuable resource for those seeking guidance and inspiration. With this brief profile, I introduce to you Father John Dardis, S.J. Big round of applause, please. Now, I hand over the proceedings to Father Dardis.
Thank you very much. That's a relief. I trained in communications back in 1989, before all of these smart screen things were invented. So I'm afraid I'm a bit out of date on all these technological things still. So listen, thank you so much, and thank you for making the time to be here. What I'll do is I'll speak for maybe 30 minutes. We'll have some interaction. And then at the end, I want to do a little survey with you on mission partnership, on how you experience being in a mission, in a partnership with Jesuits. It'll be anonymous. You'll need a sheet of paper and a pen, and there's 5 or 6 questions. So at the end, it'll be pretty simple to do. Thanks for the introduction. And Charles, thank you so much for that very moving video. I hadn't seen that one before. I must get a copy from you. You've heard the outside profile of my life. But like the video says, each of us also has an interiority, an interior journey that we're all making. And sometimes that results in successful things on the outside, and sometimes it results in things that are not so successful. My life changed when, just after being ordained a Jesuit priest, I was sent to Rwanda after the genocide in 1994. In that genocide, about 850,000 people were murdered, and about 1 million people were dispersed into refugee camps. And I was sent to help to establish a radio station, because I'd been trained in radio. But I remember being afraid. I remember, yes, I was competent for the job, but I was going into a situation of murder and the survival of the fittest. And in the camp one day, I remember in the camps one day going along, I was the only white person in the camp, which meant people saw me as having money. I had a jeep, I had a walkie-talkie, and 5 young guys were coming towards me, and I felt maybe I am going to be killed. A real sense of vulnerability and fear. But they said to me in French, they said, are you a priest? I said, yes, I'm a Jesuit. And then they said, we want to learn about our faith, because we were studying in the seminary to be priests in Kigali before the crisis. And I kind of felt so moved that here in this dreadful place of murder, sexual violence, women being set aside, terrible, terrible culture, there were some people who were searching for something deeper. They wanted something deeper, and they weren't taken by all the dominant stuff, the war, the violence, the narratives of violence and hatred and genocide. They wanted to go deeper. That had a big impact on me. And when I went back to Ireland, which is now quite a secular country, I would get so fed up with secularity and secularism. But I would then remember that deep down in each person, whatever the faith background, there's some longing deep down for something more. And that's why Jesuits run universities and schools for people of all faiths and none, because that's the belief that if you can go down or accompany young people down sufficiently on the journey where they discover who they really are, then they won't get captured by ideologies of consumerism or of individualism, all these isms. If you accompany people down, down, down on this journey, it's so exciting, it's so frustrating at times. I've been a teacher also. But if that's the vision, I'm accompanying these people down on a journey, on an inner journey. And little building blocks could be mathematics or communications or engineering or administration. Little building blocks to help them make this journey. Such a privilege. Not easy. So I really appreciate your work. And on behalf of the General, I want to say thanks. It's the first thing. Because it's a great mission. It's a great mission. The world today is crying out. And globalization has lifted people out of poverty, and I think especially in India. I used to be friends with the chairman of Goldman Sachs, Peter Sutherland. He was a past pupil of St. Aloysius School, in Dublin actually. St. Aloysius Gonzaga School in Dublin. He became the chairman of Goldman Sachs, and he was a big fan of globalization. And I remember saying to him, yes, it's true, but what about the widening gap between the rich and the poor? And the poor are going to get more angry, and the resentment will grow. And what are you doing in Goldman Sachs to bridge that gap, to reconcile that group, to to ensure that this gap does not keep going bigger and bigger so that our societies break. So this is an issue, and probably people here who teach economics or business will understand the business aspects better than I do. The values crisis, we have our friend Mr. Musk, and it's just very concerning that it's just so blatant that if you have pots of money, you can really run the world. Where's democracy? I mean, that is so concerning. The abuse of power, the threat to democracy, the war. You've probably been following Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin and the Ukrainians. I think it's the 3rd anniversary, was it today or yesterday of the war in Ukraine. We have Jesuits in Ukraine. We hear from them a lot. We have Jesuits in Russia. It's really difficult for us to manage that. The guys in Ukraine are constantly, I guess, there's a threat of being killed. And the guys in Russia, you have to be so careful. They were saying to me, I said to them, how do you manage? And they said, well, we have a very small space to work in, really, really small, tiny, but we use every centimeter of it. It's a great philosophy of when you're working in a repressive society, as we are in Nicaragua, Russia, other places in the world. Okay, so from the Curia we say to find the space and use every little piece of it, every centimeter, to try and bring liberation to people. Youth unemployment. I think we have the most educated generation ever, certainly in South Asia. The most educated generation. I've heard so much of students coming to college as being the first generation who have ever gone to college. And the ideologies, the isms. Think of the last century, colonialism in my country, Ireland, and in yours. Fascism, Stalinism. How many million people died under Stalin? His own people. Nazism, Second World War. All the isms, the ideologies. And today, capitalism, exaggerated capitalism, consumerism. I shop, therefore I am. I saw this sign. So many isms that really destroy people. Quick check, is my speed okay? My Irish accent more or less intelligible? I was saying this morning at breakfast, my Canada on a Tuesday is very bad. It's very rusty. So the world is crying out, and a God in tears, whether it's the Christian God or the God of other faith tradition, migrants dehumanized. You saw these pictures in the media recently of the Indians that Trump sent back in shackles, criminalized. They weren't criminals. But once you brand people as criminals, you're destroying dignity, you're allowing for all sorts of mistreatment. And we have to say no. Wars, I've mentioned, the death penalty, some countries. I was on a flight landing in Singapore a few years ago, and the stewardess, she said, fasten your seat belts and put up your tray tables and up your window blinds. And, the weather in Singapore is 35. Oh, and by the way, if you're carrying drugs, there's a death penalty. I was like, oh, this is new. I was expecting the window blinds and the thing, but I wasn't expecting the death penalty. Exploiting resources with no thought of future generations. We've seen that. I have a friend who works he's a young Jesuit in Lubumbashi in the south of Democratic Republic of Congo, and he's terrific. He has mobilized the local community there because the mining company, the oil company from Europe, just took the stuff and then destroyed the landscapes, and people could not live. So he, first of all, got the people angry. He said, you needn't be fatalistic. You should be angry. We can change this. And then he went to Europe, and he lobbied the Jesuits there and the governments there, and they put pressure on the company, and the company had to pay to rehabilitate the land. So it was a perfect cycle of on-the-ground awareness with local awareness raising, study the thing, why has this happened, study the laws or the norms that might need changing, pressure the company in various ways so that they change and they reform and they improve the situation. That is just, when that happens, it's a dream. And I think places like yourselves, universities, colleges, when you link up with Jesuit social centers and the business community and the political community, change can happen. So I'm denouncing all these things like migrants excluded and poverty, but we can do something. There's over 1 million high school students around the world in Jesuit schools who have cousins and siblings and parents. There's 760,000 students in Jesuit universities around the world, with faculty like yourselves, talented, gifted, thinking people. That's a lot of firepower, but we don't harness it. Each little place does its own little thing. But if we dream of an impact, and this is what I'm selling you today, to make an impact, if we dream of an impact, the ingredients are there. The ingredients are there. We just have to decide to bake the cake and to put this together so that change happens within whatever space we can. Father Sosa, just last week, speaking in Chennai last Monday, he had a strong statement about the world today. A moral reset is needed. Charles, would you read this actually? If you just come to the microphone. I'm giving you a rest from my voice.
This world today, like never before, is in need of a moral compass. We see the collapse of political discourse in so many countries and the rise of political and religious fundamentalism. The poor are the ones who are suffering. We urgently need a moral reset. A moral reset that challenges the rich and the powerful. A moral reset that denounces injustice and violence. A moral reset that prioritizes the dignity and depth of each human being. A moral reset that cuts away at false narratives.
Thank you so much. So a strong statement from the head of the Jesuits. A moral reset that challenges the rich and the powerful, like that company I mentioned in Europe, that denounces injustice and violence and says this is wrong. That prioritizes the dignity and the depth of each human person. And the little video showed it, that poor little boy, and then he had such dignity. And then the teacher had this conversion because he made the journey to understand. So moving, actually. Is this microphone acting up? It's okay? Indian microphones and Irish voices. It must be a bad combination. There we go. And here's the key slide. It's, there's all sorts of documents on Jesuit mission, and Alwyn and I were on this committee, and we read a pile of stuff. And in the end, it boils down to liberation. And we need your help as mission partners if we are to do this moral reset and get into the process of liberation, like the one I talked to you about in Democratic Republic of Congo. These little communities with a bit of targeted action can be liberated. I bet you can think of places in Bangalore, Karnataka, little communities that, this community is oppressed. These need liberation. We could help. It gets as specific as that. It's easy to say, global moral reset, and then we go back to watch Netflix. But to say, no, here's a community, a little community here. There's a community there. They need our help. And with a bit of networking and not too much work, we can do something. And the reputation of places like yours is good. So you have a lot of credibility. Liberation. How many of you have heard of the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius? Maybe put your hands up. About half. They're a set of spiritual exercises that bring inner freedom, basically, through an experience of 8 days or 30 days. And there's a whole lot of complicated theory written about them, which is kind of interesting. You can make a doctorate in spirituality. But I was talking to a psychologist friend of mine in Brussels, and he hadn't done the exercises, but he said, what are these spiritual exercises? It sounds a bit strange. So I began to give the complicated explanation, because I wanted to show off my deep Jesuit knowledge. Have you met Jesuits like that? Yeah. and he said, well, first of all, he said, I need another beer if we have to continue this conversation. But then he said, but surely, John, they're about liberation in the end. And every one of our faith traditions, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, at their best, they liberate the human person. At their best. If you think about the key writings in your religious tradition, they liberate your spirit. They help a person go down, 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 down on this journey to find truth, to find something deep, to find God. All of our religious traditions, that's the journey. That's the journey to liberation, freedom. So I'm optimistic through all these challenges, a world with so many challenges, we can find a way forward together. And that's my message, that this partnership in mission, Jesuits, mission partners, different faith backgrounds, but if our vision is human dignity and liberation, if we construct a vision together, we can have a big impact. We can. By fighting for justice and dignity, siding with the poor, I'm so impressed by the number of people that we accept with financial aid or scholarships. And I know I've met staff in Bangalore who do the difficult work of accompanying students who probably start at a level lower than they should be. And it needs a lot of work to mentor these students up. But when they get there, you're so proud. Protecting our planet, reconciliation, advocacy for social change. I've mentioned those. This is a group in Kohima that we're working with about the environment. So we can find a way forward together. And you know this better than I do, how education helps. It lifts up the poor. It makes them aware of their dignity. Each person has this unique dignity. And it's such a tragedy when a group or a person is told they don't matter. I made a video documentary once for gypsies in Ireland, and gypsies were really thrown aside. And it was young 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds, and we made a video. And then we had a showing, a screening, you know, like the Oscars. We showed them on the screen, and they couldn't believe they were on television. Because only the important people are on television. Or they were portrayed on television as people into drugs and violence and child marriage and alcohol. And suddenly they were on television with dignity. And you could see the change almost in their self-image and the behavioral change. It was just liberating. So helping people speak up, a sensitivity or a nose for manipulation. Imagine if our students left here with just a sensitivity to ideologies and manipulation and fake news. Just an intuition. And then maybe an understanding will be the next level. And then a desire to change. Imagine that. So, moving on to being a bit more specific, you may have heard of the apostolic preferences. I see in the lobby there's talk about the 4 universal preferences of the society. There they are there. Reading from the bottom left, showing the way to God. So helping people find this transcendent, this mystery at the core of our lives. Walking with the excluded. Journeying or accompanying young people towards a hope-filled future is the third one. And collaborating in the care of the common home. And I talked to Father General. These are from 2019 and they are until 2029, a kind of a 10-year plan. And if you notice, it's not Jesuits hopefully, patronizingly saying, we will help you poor people. It's walking with the poor, solidarity. When Jesuits have made mistakes in the past, it's because we think we know best and we will tell you what's good for you. So there's been a process of saying, yeah, that was a disaster when we tried to do that. That was a mess, it didn't work. And so it's a very humble thing if we will walk with the poor side by side. We will journey with young people, learning from them. And we will collaborate in caring for the common home. Showing the way to God. I can't show the way to God unless I'm struggling to find God in my own life. All of us are the same. We can't really show the way to God of any faith unless we are on that journey authentically ourselves. So it's also a humble project. So they're the 4, if you like, orientations, horizons that are guiding all the Jesuit institutions. And it's about liberation. Each one of those, the umbrella is liberation. Let's look at the first one. I've kind of rechristened it as filling the spiritual vacuum. After I present the 4, by the way, just to warn you, I'll give you a minute in silence just to see now which of those 4 resonates most with me. So just as I go through it, listen to your heart and your head. Which of these 4? There's no right answer. You might say, well, I like number 4 because I come from a village where there was a lot of problems with the environment. So which of these resonates? Number 1, the core thing is that there's something transcendent, or a longing for the transcendent, a longing for the absolute, a longing for God in every single person. Sometimes it's not very, felt. I go for a walk on our terrace in Rome most nights just to watch the stars, to look at the Vatican, which is nearby, and I find something. And I bet each of you has those finding something moments where this morning in our house, I went to the church, the Shrine of Divine Mercy, and I saw one man kneeling down praying. Just simple. So in a world that's quite disenchanted, we want to help people find true depth. And that happens through beauty, art, poetry, in all the great faith traditions, the transcendent. The marginalized, the horizon of walking with the poor, the ones that never make it into the newspapers. We want to do something with them, not for them, with them. Walking with the young people. This was a launch last week. There I am on the left, with actually 2 young people from Karnataka, Viola and She's our student. Well, fantastic. There you go. As I said, it's the most educated generation of. Does somebody need water? There's water there. You don't have to die listening to me. There's a glass of water. There's somebody coughing there. Would you like some water? You have it. Fantastic. It's the most educated generation ever. And we need to build the future with them. There's huge energy and excitement. And we have a new project called the Magis Digital Home. It's saying, Father General asked the Chennai and Karnataka Jesuits to work on this. And it's a digital online project for young people. 150,000 young adults graduate every year from Jesuit colleges and universities, every year. Now, if they were mobilized, if they had this vision for liberation, this is what the General said. Alban, maybe you could read this with the microphone here, or is there a roving microphone? There's a cordless one coming up. The technical team are coming to the rescue.
Thank you. We believe in young adults. I believe in young adults. The Society of Jesus believes in young adults. We believe in their creativity. We believe in their energy. We believe in their deep spirituality and interiority. We believe in their sense of solidarity. We believe in their hopefulness about the future. We believe in their passion about the common home in the face of the challenges faced by our planet.
Thanks, Alwyn. So it's a strong affirmation by the Superior General of the work that you do. You can read it that way, that we're committed to this place for the long haul and to other institutions as well. You can see he's echoing the preferences. We believe in their deep spirituality, the first horizon, their solidarity, walking with the poor, their hopefulness about the future, young people and hope, and the common home, the fourth preference. So a strong affirmation from him. Sorry, go back. I love this picture because it's young people smiling, and it's a young person serving, helping somebody. I know in India you have the washing of the feet, sometimes ceremony for welcoming. And then in the Christian scriptures, there's a famous part where Jesus washes the feet and serves the disciples. And here you have a young kid, really, with his jeans torn and the typical modern dress. My brother-in-law, who's the same age as me, his son, who's age 30, came back with tattered jeans. And he said, my brother-in-law said, you should get new jeans. And he said, these are new, I bought them today. He said, what? I'm paying for you buying tattered jeans. So this is the thing I mentioned, the Magis digital platform. Vivian is a Jesuit from Karnataka. He works in Rome with us. He's a terrific, you know him? Yeah. And then there's myself with two of the team. That one is a volunteer on the left and the guy on the right. In fact, they're both volunteers with us. So we're trying to develop this platform of hope. Yeah, Vivian Richards. The Hope platform is where we'll offer job opportunities, volunteering opportunities, solidarity opportunities, interiority opportunities. You know, the jobs network, if you're just into jobs, the basic stuff, the jobs network in the Jesuit world, from alumni, from people who run businesses linked to us, it's enormous. And the volunteering network and the interiority potential. So there'll be an app. Currently we're looking at apps, what app we can use, these community building apps, trying to get a handle on an app that might not cost us a fortune but might be effective. Our common home, fragile, being exploited. And then there's some good little projects of hope that we can get involved in. And schools and colleges are way ahead. When I visit Jesuit high schools and even kindergarten and junior schools, there's all these little kids involved in environmental things. So just a quick word, this is Karen Armstrong's book, The Great Transformation, about the different religious traditions. And I think all of these traditions, all of our traditions are about human liberation. So, quick minute in silence. I've done a quick tour of those 4 preferences. Which of the 4 really touches your heart? It might be the interiority one, maybe related to your own journey or just your own spirituality. It might be accompanying the poor because you've had an experience with a student who's struggling. It might be working with young people because that's what you do. And it might be, so just think. And I'm going to ask for a show of hands then on who's number 1, who's number 2. So just write down for yourself which of the 4 resonates most with you, excites you, energizes you, gives you passion, touches your heart. I'll flash through them again just to remind. There they are. Just make a note for yourself. Okay. And we will have to appoint somebody as the counter because I'm not good at these practical things. Could you come up and just count the numbers for each one? And Alwyn, if you'd make a note of the numbers. Okay. So how many for number 1? Raise hands. Number 1, the interiority, spirituality, finding God one. 1, 2, 2. Okay, so Alwyn, if you make a note of that. How many walking with the excluded, solidarity? Oh, bigger number. Ooh. 16. How many for journeying with young people? $17, just ahead. And how many last for the common home and collaborating for the common home? 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. So you can see a big resonance there, and something happening inside all of us when we listen to this kind of presentation. We're on a little journey together, identifying, if you like, the bits of the Jesuit mission that connect with you, different to the ones that connect with you, but they're all under this umbrella, because we're each contributing our little bit. And when we find a resonance, it kind of says something about our own history and our own journey together as well. Okay, who are the number ones? Will the number ones stand up? Yeah, tell us what in number one appeals to you. I'm putting you on the spot because you're the first person to have to make a comment.
Yes, number one, actually, because when you have that, the way to God, you include all the three in that, because these three will come when you realize the God's love on human being, on earth, and for us, maybe this will help us to understand even walking with the excluded and journeying with the youth and caring for the home, common home. Yes.
Round of applause. I think he's been talking to Pope Francis, because Pope Francis said to the Jesuits, he said, number one is the basic one. And also when the Jesuits made mistakes in the past, when we were getting ideological about justice especially, or when Jesuits got just burnt out working with the poor, which happens, it was because they hadn't really integrated this foundation thing into a faith background. Or when you work and you fail, or there's another war and your village is again destroyed, you get bitter. And the insurance policy, is God an insurance policy? The insurance policy against that is some level of interiority that keeps you going. Okay, number two. There were 16 people. Let's have them on their feet, just in case they've gone asleep. Jump to your feet, all the 16 number two people. We're not going to get all 16 of you, because there were 2 people for number one. I can't invite everybody. Let's go for this person here in the pink shawl.
Hello, good morning. I'm very concerned about poverty. I'm not telling that I am a rich lady, but here and there if I see the people, I'm with them. I'll go with them, I'll talk with them. I used to give something to them. This is what I'm doing. Even though I'm teaching in PU, I'm with the youngsters. In our college itself, there are many, many students who can't afford a meal for one time. So I used to share with them. I used to call with them. I used to talk with them. I'll ask their reality, their family background. So if possible, I go with them. I'll do something. That is what my parent guided me, that I am continuing with my kids, my students. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful, really. Let's have somebody else from that group from over. Who else was here for the number two? They've all gone shy. Suddenly you were number two.
Okay, I choose walking with the excluded, I think, from my personal experience. Maybe I was also excluded sometimes. And I have experience of helping these excluded people also, because I think because of my personal experience, it is more touching to my heart. In my family, with my husband and all that issues. So I feel I have experienced a lot about how when you are in trouble, whether who are the people who will walk with you and who are the people who will not walk with you is a personal experience for me. That is why this is more touching.
Yeah, as I said, a lot of the resonance comes from connecting with something deep inside ourselves and our own history. And then we journey forward with that. And that gives us the passion. Really to... somebody else from the excluded. Maybe from the men over here. Who was on the excluded side here? Were you there? Yeah.
Hello, good morning, Father. Good morning to all. Yeah, I chose working with the excluded because I myself is having a lot of concern with the excluded people. Though I am not undergone the experience of being excluded, but still, I'm serving as a headmaster of the high school. So we have so many kids who are coming to the Kannada medium and also English medium also. Nowadays there are students who are studying who cannot afford just now, as ma'am said, their fees or with the food that. So whatever it is possible from our side, we are doing that. Of course, the midday meal comes from the government, but still other things, whatever it is required, especially having shoes or this one. We are happy that with the help of some sponsors, this year we gave some 50 students shoes and socks. And also, I being a youth, yeah, so along with my friends, have a great concern for the excluded people. That's why we have an association, Father, called United Friends BJ. And with the help of that, we are going to build some 16 flats for the poor people. And that's the first in Mangalore diocese outside the church. So it is on progress. I hope with the help of all, maybe next year we are completing the project.
Thank you. Good luck with that. I was visiting, where was the place, Arun, where we visited? It was the first floor where the students were all in desks, the hostel place? St. Louis boarding. It was these kids who come from villages, I think, different ages, 8, 9, and 10 grade. High school. And it was just these little kids looking up at me, you know, I was important coming from Rome. So I said to them, it showed my bias, I asked the European question, you know, what's your favorite football team? One guy said, I follow cricket. He was most indignant. This little kid, I think from a poor background, I follow cricket. He was very upset that I was suggesting he might be following soccer. So you get a lot of graces from these situations, really. Journeying with young people towards a hope-filled future. That was 17 people. So you can all leap to your feet. Oops, sorry. Somebody dropped their phone. Hope it's still alive. So would you like to say something?
We all work with the youth, so we see that they're all going through a lot. So everyone is experiencing something or the other. So my goal is to make a difference in someone's life at least. So to be there for them when they feel they have no one. At least they feel, okay, there's someone for them. So,
can you give me an example, say, of one person, without mentioning a name, that recently you were talking to and something happened, or?
Right now I cannot think of something in specific.
I'm putting you on the spot, yeah.
I cannot think of something in specific, but then I tend to listen to a lot of people, so when I listen to them, I get to know a lot of things.
Yeah.
At least in that listening, they feel that there is somebody. That is what I've experienced.
Pass the microphone to your neighbor there.
Yes. Journeying with the youth, yes. Presently, the profession is that, and we get to work with a lot of youth. But then I look back, and when I was a teenager, I teach teenagers. When I was a teenager, I wish that somebody would be there, especially my teacher, who would listen to me, who would work with me, who would encourage me or tap the potential. So that was somewhere what was lacking when I was a student. So when now I work with students, I see that there is a lot of potential. Maybe they just require a little direction from us, some motivation from us, so that they reach their goal. So that's why I resonate with this. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I used to be in charge of the vice director of a Jesuit hostel for young students in Dublin. We had about 110 students. And it was a lively place, you know, young people, and noisy at night and all of those things. And there were 3 of us on the team, and we went away for a team retreat, a team day, a team planning thing. And we came back, and the porter at the desk ran out and said, "Father, this student has just committed suicide." And it was such a shock, because he was a joyful guy, full of potential, as you said. And then one of the cooks was talking to me, because we had to talk to the staff and process all of what had happened. And he said, "You know, Father, if you had been here this weekend, maybe he would have talked to you, because he trusted you," which was nice to hear, but also difficult to hear. You know, so young people, they look confident, but inside there's a lot of fragility often, you know, a lot of fragility. This new generation, there's various books you've probably seen on, especially the girls who were 14, 15, 16 during COVID, the smartphone. There's a research done on the impact of smartphones on them, and that it's when the smartphone began to be used by the young girls that the suicide rates in young girls shot up, because they were comparing themselves. There was cyberbullying, all this stuff started. Anyway, so young people. How are we doing on time? Oh, are we over time? 11:30?
Yeah.
Shoot. Okay, quick, common home. 2 common home people, if I remember, or was it 3? Okay, common home. You get a microsecond to talk about the common home.
Yeah, when we think about this word common home, it brings everyone together. There only we feel that unity. And we also united here not only as human beings, we care for other species, plants, animals. And if we have something like that survival instinct, I think that connects us to our environment. If we don't save the environment for future, I think we don't have future. So we need to educate our youngsters to how to bring in ecological balance and how to respect other, species, protect our environment, so that we have something good for our future. That's what I think.
Beautifully expressed. Thank you. Really, really. Round of applause. Yes.
You gave me the duty of counting, therefore I did not take any group. But then I feel I am included in the discussion. Yeah. See, we are with the youth. We are journeying with the youth and taking them to take these excluded in smaller groups. We are doing it. We do visit the old age homes and infirm people, and they feel that they have to do something for them. And also, Mother Planet Earth is taken care with this group. And definitely this will show the way to God. God has been kind to us. A lot of blessings have come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Can I steal 5 minutes? Okay. To give you a chance to ask me questions. It can be anything. It can be a comment. I have a little survey, but we don't have time now because I talk too much. Yeah. Or maybe I'll tell you what we'll do. Think for a minute. What's your takeaway from this session? And write it down. It might be an image, might be a phrase, What's your takeaway from the session? It might be, I hate the Jesuits. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. What's your takeaway? And it also can be a question from me, and I'll take note. If you have a question for me, I won't answer it, there's no time, but it's, if you want to challenge me or question me, so the takeaway can be, I want to ask you this question. So write it down, and we'll start at the back with the woman with the cold. Hope you're not dying. So quickly write down your takeaway from the session. What inspired you? What challenged you? What insight did you get? And you get 3 seconds, so you don't have time for a long thing. It can be something like, my takeaway is young people, or the future, or my takeaway is going deeper, or liberation. So takeaway, okay.
First of Father, taking care of our earth is very important. As I know, in my home, one coconut tree is there, and it is disturbing for everyone. But they wanted to cut it. It's like one coconut tree also, it's a nature, and it is very important for us. So I'm explaining everyone. It is yes. So
You had a big resonance with the comment.
yes, when I heard this, important. Everything is important there. In that, nature is very important for me.
Good morning, Father. I feel like bringing a smile in one child's face and make a difference in his or in her life.
For me, it is seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all the things shall be added unto it.
Bringing a good future, and that means bringing being with the youth to help them to bring a good future.
Father, as I'm working in high school, so we are dealing with adolescent students, so we should listen more to them and guide them. When they feel lonely, we should accompany them.
Father, I want to deal into this journey with the youth so I can help the youth to become a better person in the future.
My takeaway is going with youth and educating them to care for nature and all people.
So my takeaway is believe in God and experience in life.
Be with the youngsters. Be like a youngster.
Forgive and forget.
To have a vision and work on it.
Journeying with the youth to help them see how living is a wonder.
Moral reset is what I want to think more about.
I like the phrase, we believe in young adults.
Have an eye for detail. Great blessings from Rome. Father is here. I need a blessings, and I wanted to be a blessing.
To accompany the young students. With these apostolic preferences, for me it is not just me, it is all others.
Working towards a hopeful future.
Believe in the power of positive affirmations, especially about the youth.
The sentence that struck me is, a world is crying out, and my little world are my little children in the primary school. I want to do a bit to them.
Father, covering the education aspect of youth, help the youth and downtrodden, care to Mother Earth, and also spiritual updating. These are.
internal transformation to carry forward our preferences.
My takeaway is liberation from all the prejudices and looking forward to moving ahead.
My takeaway is like collaborating with Jesuits via universal apostolic preferences.
Working with the excluded and helping students for their better future, Father.
Youth is the future hope.
My takeaway was the quest of inner journey that you spoke about.
At least now I have a hope that real transformation of the world is possible if all the students of the Jesuit schools, colleges and universities, they are convinced with the universal apostolic preferences.
My takeaway is being with poor, having seen and living with the circle of poor by helping them in needed sectors.
To be a Jesuit, to continue this and promote this.
I am motivated to work still working with the excluded.
My takeaway is accompaniment.
My takeaway is journeying with youth because I believe in young adults.
I think I had a sort of a epiphanic moment, Father, which told me that being a Jesuit collaborator is a very big blessing, but an even greater responsibility.
Resetting the moral values are one of the priority which I prefer.
My takeaway is, I wish we had more time, but I really feel that you're on board with all of this. And that's what I wanted by having this workshop, that you would be really feeling some of the passion. I'm in charge of planning, and there are two things I'm pushing at the top level. One is the Jesuits, we need to be more agile in decision making, responding faster, more creative. The second is passion. And I really feel the passion here. So please push us to be more agile, really, and give us some of your passion. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father Dardis, for this beautiful, I think we had got a demonstration of a prototype of a workshop, and I found that it was very touching. It had all aspects of a very good workshop, so all of us are inspired. So shall we give a big round of applause to Professor John Dardis? Thank you so much. May I request Father Rector also to join Father Dardis on stage on the chair. Sorry, Father, come. Kindly excuse me for that. So brief 2 to 3 minutes. Father John Dardis has come all the way to meet all of us. We had a very meaningful interaction with him. So we would like to, as our guest, we would like to just felicitate him. Therefore, I request Dr. Dennis Fernandez to offer a green felicitation by offering a sapling. I request Father Melvin Joseph Pinto, our rector, to wrap Father with a warm shawl of St. Aloysius, deemed to be university. This is a symbol of warmth of all of us, the warmth of all of us surrounding you. Thank you. And we have another memento. I request Dr. Ishwar Bhatt to come forward and offer a symbol of one of the indigenous sports of this place. It is called Kambala. It is a buffalo race, okay, which is held regularly here. It is part of this place's culture. So you can always keep it with you. So it is buffalo race. Yeah. So okay. Thank you very much. Yeah. So I request Dr. Charles Furtado to propose the vote of thanks.
Well, I just want to thank Reverend Father John Dardis for taking us back and bringing us forward, and also making us think about the future. We are all grateful to our beloved institution and to the Jesuits for touching us with their ideals, with their ideologies, and we're grateful to God Almighty for calling us into this mission and giving us this opportunity to carry the gauntlet and the baton for a short while. And as I said, your talk gave me many epiphanic moments. And I wish that this talk will be so deep-rooted and it will help me to recalibrate and help all of us to be rejuvenated in the mission that the Jesuits have set out for us. So thank you once again, Father, for coming over here, for touching us and for connecting with us. I think you were wonderful as a communicator and as an animator. So thank you so much. Let us give him a standing ovation. Thank you once again.